piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another new episode. Welcome to episode 268, and welcome to Candyman. Thanks for listening to another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined by Zach. Did you say his name 5 times?
I did. Everything turned out fine. As you can see, I'm here on the show.
No rainy accidents.
No minute.
No last
on the way to work.
Yeah, you got some. You kept your dinner reservations, I see,
I
to
did.
have some dessert with Candyman. Man, what a week it's been. We are in the last episode of October before we hit a jam-packed November next week. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But man, how was your week?
It's going good. It's always nice doing the show on a Wednesday because it's like, all right, we're halfway done. We're halfway done.
This is our checkpoint. Once you get to the episode, if you can at least talk about a movie, hey, you know the weekend's right around the corner.
It's like the Energizer Bunny. It's like, here we go. We're down 2 more days.
Speaking,
what about you?
It's been a week. It's been good. Going back to the grind, going back to the old reliable shit show. It's been fun. It's been a good week. You can't complain. Tons of movies to talk about this week, including Taylor Swift beating out the boy. Your man, Martin Scorsese, came in second, but he still hit like I think 23, almost $30 million this weekend.
Yeah, which I mean, with the machine of Taylor Swift, that was going to be hard to beat anyway. So.
But if you guys want to see what's coming up next as far as schedule-wise or giveaways, check out our social medias, facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X is over at Cinnamon405, or you can email us. We'll get into the email bag next wech at cinemen921@gmail.com. You can also find all of our links to our past episodes, all the episodes in the archives, anything that we talked about recently, you can find in all those links. But Zach, let's get to it. Recent watches and recommendations. I think the one thing we both really want to talk about was we'll do a spoiler-free review of Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah. Before we get to that, other recent watches, just staying ahead of the week of the schedule. So Talk to Me next week, and then the Prey, the Hulu Predator movie is going to be.
What if I don't want to talk to you next week?
No, that's fine. I mean, I'll run the show by myself. It's good. So, but no, yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon. I mentioned it last week. I was going to go see it. Of course, you know, the girthy 3.5 hours scared a lot of people, to be honest. But man, I came out and I said, look, guys, this is probably the best, if not one of the best movies of the year, in my opinion. And you're just like, really? Is that good? And then you went and saw it Sunday. And yeah, how was your experience?
The experience was pretty cool. I didn't have nearly as the entertaining guests in the theater like you did. It sounds like you had actual members of
the Hillbilly Deluxe in there.
To you.
Guys, quick rant. We haven't done a rant in a while. Quick, just movie etiquette. Shut up during the movie, please. I had these 2 older people next to me, and anytime something happened, anytime a twist happened, there was oohs, ahs, in-betweens. There's the running commentary for 3.5 hours. And I will say I was so into the movie that it didn't really hinder it, but just shut up. Just during the movie, please.
You know, I'll run through the same. Haunted Mansion, Little Mermaid, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Joyride, Candyman, Killers of the Flower Moon. I checked out The Devil on Trial like you told me to because we talked about The Conjuring 2 last week.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
that was honestly, it was more of a comedical documentary than anything. You want to
Oh.
talk about some overweight rednecks, boy. I couldn't believe anything they were saying in the documentary. But we'll get to the Killers of the Flower Moon. I think, to me, even though it was almost 40 minutes longer than Oppenheimer, or 30 minutes, it was the more superior film.
Yeah, I would agree.
There was
I mean, you came
parts
out.
where I
I
was
mean, I texted you and you said like it was so good, but like just obviously non-spoiler. What'd you really like about it?
I liked the fact that you could sit down and like the story just captivated you, and you would think, we live in Oklahoma, we might have heard about this. I never heard anything about this kind of story, and that's probably just because of it not being taught. But like the way it was just pictured and the way it was put on screen, at times felt like a crime thriller. That's exactly what
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were some horror elements to it, which I appreciated. There was also just pure fun, uh, like cinema, like the score, the performances. I thought with it being 3.5 hours, I was gonna twiddle my thumbs at some point, or um, just probably lose track of the film, but I didn't lose track at all. I just, like you said, the story just keeps you going and going. The deaths, the plot, what's gonna happen, who's gonna come out on top, is somebody gonna survive? Like it was just a nonstop case of emotion, and it didn't need to be like an on your seat action movie to keep you entertained.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that this is going to be the big movie to beat at the Oscars this year. I mean, you can list everything: the best picture, director, actor, support. What? Oh, so what do you think about our discussion? Do you think De Niro is supporting or main actor?
After watching it, I really feel like he's supporting.
Yeah. And then Lily Gladstone, who played Molly, I thought, for her
Just
only to
just
have
just,
maybe,
just give it to her right now.
yeah, I mean, for her to maybe have like 50 lines in a 3.5 hour movie, she stole the show. I mean, she was able to hold her own against De Niro and DiCaprio, and I can imagine that is not an easy feat to do.
Jesse Plemons was amazing. I was like, man, it took 2.5 hours for him to get on screen, but once he gets on there, it's fun. Um,
And it's the same for Brendan Fraser. He shows up towards like the last third of the
last
film.
30 minutes, yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, I
Overall,
mean, I loved it.
like,
I mean,
yeah. There's a lot of people complaining about it though. Like it didn't need to be 3 hours, and there's a lot of like reviews and people out there that are just like trashing the movie because it's 3.5 hours.
well, and to me, and I kind of agree with Scorsese on this. Is like if you can binge watch a television show for 3 hours, what's the difference than good to go into a theater and watching some for 3.5 hours? What's the difference?
No
And to
difference.
me, if it takes 3.5 hours to tell the story the right way, go for it. And I mean, like you said, we walked out. Neither of us were bored. I'll fully admit when I watched Oppenheimer, there was some slow moments, and I didn't have any slow moments in this. So
Speaking of cinema, you can go watch Killers of the Flower Moon and a bunch of other movies. Zach, why don't you talk to them about one of our sponsors real quick?
yeah, Rodeo Cinema, who's a good friend and sponsor of the show. Um, they've always had the hookup for us, and we really appreciate it. They're located on 2221 Exchange Avenue in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, in the Stockyards. Um, they've always it's a great non-for-profit organization. They show new movies, old movies, cult classics, and everything in between. You can donate, have a membership, volunteer, join their mailing list, and just tell them that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you. We always like to let them know that we're looking out for them. So
But let's get ready to get into what we're talking about today. You might have to help me with some of these names. Um,
yeah,
there's another movie that not a lot of people are psyched about. Um,
I don't understand why, but we'll talk about it.
so we're talking about the uh, the requel, reboot, whatever you want to call it, the sequel from 2021, Candyman. IMDb currently has it at 5.9. The Metascore is at 72%. Rotten Tomatoes is at 84%. Google users like it at 70%. Released August 27th, 2021. With just a $25 million budget, it grossed a little over $78 million at the box office. A sequel to the horror film Candyman from 1992 that returns to the now gentrified Chicago neighborhood where the legend began.
Has a cast of Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Tiana Paris, Coleman Domingo, Nathan Stewart Jarrett, Kyle Kaminsky, Vanessa Williams, and cameo performances with Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd.
And you get
and directed by Nia DaCosta.
Vanessa Williams reprises her role from the 1992 version. Yeah, did you get to see this in the theaters? Because I know it came out right when theaters started opening back up in 2021.
Yeah.
If not, what was it like to rewatch?
Yeah, I did see this in the theater. I actually did a double feature of this and Don't Breathe 2. Clearly,
gee, I wonder which was the better of the film.
Yeah. By the end of this conversation, one of them will be on top. For me, man, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very, very shocked by it. I remember when they announced this, I was just like, what? Why are we doing a Candyman reboot, requel, whatever it's going to be? But the thing that really got me interested was Jordan Peele as a producer, writer on it. I was like, okay, I could see. I think Us had just came out a couple of years before, so I'm just like, okay, he had Get Out, he had Us. Let's see what he can do as a producer role, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was so really well crafted, smart writing. And on this rewatch, I feel the same way. I still think it still holds up. 2001, so about 2 years later. And it still got me. And I think the best thing about it's an hour and like 28 minutes without the credits, since you're just in and out. What about you?
I didn't get to see this in the theaters, but I do remember really enjoying this one when it first came out. I bought it on streaming. And then, to me, I do like this in the requel fit. After binge watching the whole franchise just a few weeks ago, I really do feel like you just need the first one and this one. 2 is okay. 2 is pretty good. 3 is terrible. 3 feels like a Showtime made for TV movie. There was no budget for it whatsoever. So, but I do like the fact, let's kick it off. I do like the fact how you get the Sherman opening where they tease a different Candyman. Because when you're first watching it, you're like, whoa, that's not Tony Todd. That's not
Daniel Robital.
Yeah. So I like how they tease the different characters and the mythology of somebody being the Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later as far as like what it means and what you think it means. But at the end of the day, what'd you think of? Let me ask you this: did you know anything about the original before going into this movie?
I think we
did do an episode in 2019.
We did. No, did we do it in 19 or did we do it when this?
2020.
Yeah, because we were going to do it. I think we were going to do it when this was going to come out originally, and then it got pushed back because of COVID. And so, yeah, if we did the episode before, then yeah, I've seen the original film. I may even rewatch. I think I'd rewatch the original film before seeing the new one. And so yeah, I agree. This is it. It's a very good connective. You could just jump right into this one and not miss anything.
Because you get introduced to Anthony, Bree, and Troy. Anthony's the painter. Bree is the girlfriend who gets him involved in the whole art gallery sessions. And then Troy is the brother to Bree. So you get introduced to all them three real quick. And you get introduced to the story of Helen in the first one because it's like a horror story now. And like a ghost in the dark
ghost story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you did not see the first one, you don't really have to. They set you up real good with it because of the ghost story. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I love when movies take the mythology and just kind of twist it and turn it to make it its own thing, and to be kind of the whole oh, nice. Um, make it the whole sense of it's still part of this world, but we're gonna just do something a little bit different with it. Um, and I gotta say, the shadow puppetry thing that they used to tell the story and like the whole ending credits, which we'll get to, I love that. I thought that was really well genius. I thought it was very smart. Um, and it brought honestly a sense of creepiness to it. Like, yeah, those
Mhm.
shadow puppets look creepy already to begin with, but to tell the story of Candyman and just kind of um, the quote unquote scary story to tell the dark of Helen and what happened to her, I thought was brilliantly well done.
So were you confused the first time watching it because you saw the Sherman story in the laundromat, and then like 5 minutes later you get introduced to the three characters and they tell the '92 version? Were you kind of like, what's going on here, or did you like where it was going and you just didn't want to ask questions?
I liked I liked where it was going. I didn't I didn't ask any questions about the Sherman plot line because, to be honest, I thought it was like a I thought Sherman was originally like a vessel that the Tony Todd Candyman was using to like go after people. But
You still, I mean, kind of
it
technically.
is, but yeah, in a different way, I guess. Um, I think the thing that really like makes me love this movie. Love is a strong word. That I really like this movie is it feels, it looks, it sounds like a Jordan Peele movie, and it's obvious. He wrote it. He's a producer on it. I don't know why he just didn't direct it. To be honest, maybe he was writing Nope or something like that, and he just had to focus on that. But this, like I said, the way it looks, the way it's shot, the cinematography, I thought was really well done. That whole opening end credits where the camera's flipped upside down, it's going through the streets of the city. It literally passes by a building that literally looks like a beehive. I didn't notice that on this rewatch. I thought was just superb.
That's what I was going to mention in this next conversation was making the city of Chicago feel like its own character. Like
Yeah,
that's something the original one did. How they went through and took some back shots of Chicago. They did the same thing in this one, and to me, uh, they made Chicago feel just like as an important character as Anthony was.
yeah, and it's very smart when when a writer or a filmmaker can use their environment as part of the story. Like, obviously you have the city of Chicago, but you also have Cabrini Green and the whole uh change up of society and how it's been like it was this like quote unquote sprawling community back in the day, but now it's just like reduced to empty buildings and just kind of trash environments. Um there is something that I like I've seen this movie several times, and like it always when he's out there taking the pictures, he gets stung by the bee. Is that just like the start of it? Like he's chosen by the Candyman, I guess, because that if you notice, like I kind of paid attention to it on this watch, but the infection of the bee sting that literally enthralls his arm all the way up to his. By the time we get to the climax of the movie, it's up to his face by that point.
Speaking of bees, no, I'm just messing with you. Now, who did he get he got the bee sting first before he summoned Candyman, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what I'm guessing is after the bite would have been okay, I think, but I think after summoning him, that's when the infection started, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, so do you,
Really,
you get
we don't get our first kill till the art gallery scene when the Clive and his girlfriend are trying to do it and they
like
get
30
brutally
minutes
murdered.
later, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before that, though, you get to meet William in the laundromat. William is the little boy who came face to face with Sherman, the Candyman from his generation, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I want to focus on William a lot because I feel like William is also a not Candyman himself, but I feel like he could be a vessel because he is the one technically at the end of the movie, he's the one who opens Anthony's eyes to this story, and then he's the one who
Hmm.
eventually kills Anthony, if you will, and does what he does. Like,
Yeah.
William obviously dies, but he to me he's just as important as the Candyman in this movie than anybody.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I like William as a character, but like his motivation by the time we get to the end of the movie, I don't I really don't understand what his motive. Okay, I had to look it up and be like, so what is like his ultimate goal here? Like I
So
understand he
what'd
wants
you
to
find out?
bring so like his plan was to resurrect the Candyman and like bring vengeance on those who like destroyed his community his childhood community or something like that. And and like that's fine, but it doesn't really
You feel like the plot of
like
the movie wasn't needed?
yeah. Like it would make it just make a lot more sense if like because and spoiler alert for those who haven't seen this movie yet, just because Anthony was the little boy at the end of the original film that Helen rescued, that's enough motivation for Candyman to go after him. It's almost like his work wasn't completed that night, you know.
Maybe that would be true if you didn't get. That's where this is almost a near perfect slasher, new age storytelling film for me, except for that part of the movie. Like, you
Yeah.
also don't need. I I don't see what the point was of the Sherman Candyman. Like you said, uh, not unless that was Tony
If
Todd's
it,
character getting involved somehow. But you don't even need that because Sherman, if you remember, people were getting razor blades in their candy, but after they killed Sherman, candy was still being, razors were still being found in
right.
candy. So he was innocent. He was an innocent bystander. So he wasn't technically imprisoned with Candyman inside of him anyway.
Well, and that was I think that's the whole point of this film, the social commentary that Jordan Peele likes to do in all his movies is the Candyman.
Technically, if you go back to look at the original as well, Candyman is an original, and I guess you could say he's an innocent bystander in all this anyway.
Yeah,
If you know the
H
original story of how he became Candyman,
Candyman.
he just
Yeah.
he didn't even have an affair because she wasn't seeing anybody. The famous daughter, she was just
Mhm.
they just fell in love, and it was in the 1800s, whites, blacks,
Couldn't
and
do it.
that's what
Yeah.
happened to him. So he was an innocent person in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And you want to know why Jordan Peele didn't direct it but still wanted to pick it up? I think that's his main goal, was to tell a better story of the original part, and I think race had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and well, and it's also, um, we've been dealing with police shootings, unarmed black people for the last 10 years plus, and so
Our lifetime.
yeah, his ability to bring horror and social commentary into this and make it the mythology of the Candyman of these are innocent black people that were either killed or mis or they were killed or they were judged uh, incorrectly, and
And I
so
know,
that's the curse
and
of
I
it.
and I hope this isn't why the movie got bad ratings, but I know your average, you know, certain southern viewers might be like, "Hey, I don't want this. I have to see this stuff like this on the news. I don't want to have to see it in the movie too." Like, no, like that's what Jordan Peele gets to do. He gets to take a subject matter that might be touchy, but it's true, and he puts it in film and exploits it that way. Like, I think he did a marvelous job with this movie. And I still think that's why this movie gets some knock on it today, because you know
Well, I
people
mean,
don't people don't want to be honest with themselves and see it.
I'm just looking at the reviews on IMDb, and like the highest grade it has is like a 6. Disappointing. Could have been better if only the agenda was set aside, which obviously that's the social commentary.
That's
Some
stupid.
boring, good imagery and score, inconsistent storytelling. too much politics, not enough Candyman.
Oh my
But
god.
that's what irritates me, because like if you have Candyman, I like that's another positive I'll give the movie, is that the kills in this movie were evenly spread out. Like it was, you had enough, but not too much, and you didn't see the character of Candyman to the point where it's just like he's not scary
Mm-mm.
anymore. So yeah,
What did you think of? So honestly, after him getting the bee stung, you start seeing the deaths pop up. You see his attitude change, and I like how you see somebody who looks like Candyman do the killings,
mm-hmm.
but he's dressed in this coat, which
Yeah,
looks like,
it's Sherman's.
well, is that was
Well,
that what you think? You think it's Sherman's version, or do you think it's Tony Todd's version? Or a lot of technically it makes you look at Anthony's the one doing all the killings, just like it made you think of Helen doing all the killings in the first movie.
see, I always thought it was. I mean, I always thought it was Tony Todd. Like anytime the kills happened, that was him. But that was proven wrong, because when he goes to the art critic's house and he's standing in the mirror, it's clearly Sherman, the way he's like completely deformed by the beating that he took by the police. So I was just like, okay, so that makes sense for this version of the story, but it also sets up what the ultimate goal was by the time you get to the end of the film.
And reviews like that about this movie are the same reviews that you read that people don't like Nope, people don't like Us, people don't like Get Out. It's the same back trash story. I'm going to watch my Talladega Nights and NASCAR 24/7, because if you had a problem with this movie, then you had a problem with the movie in 1992, because the movie in 1992 told the same story.
Well, and to me, if
The
it's really
black
about
the black
race,
it is, at least for the people who hate the movie, because
then
Tony Todd got murdered innocently, had honey poured on him, got stung by bees, got lit on fire, cut off his hand. I mean,
well, to me, and like if it's really about that topic in this film, why does Get Out have a 7.8? That's the whole point of the movie. That doesn't make any sense to me. Is it because you don't want like a serious telling of a horror character? I mean, is that the point of it?
and you technically only get brutality. You don't even really see that kind of brutality, or is it brought up 24/7 in the movie? It's technically really only put in your face the last 10 minutes, I
Yeah,
think.
I would say the two brutal parts of the movie is the police, the ending with when Anthony really becomes the Candyman, and the art when the two people get killed in the art in the art show
Oh, no, no,
after
no. I'm
hours.
I'm talking about the subject matter being thrown in your face.
Oh yeah. Towards the last like 15 minutes of the movie, yeah.
So you brought up the art gallery, which I thought was an amazing way to open up the first few kills. You get the evolution of the bee bite. Honestly, let's talk about that elevator scene where the candy gets
Yeah.
dropped. Very, very
Hmm.
good scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say this the scares in this movie still probably the thrills of it, they still work. And when he's listening to that recorder of Helen, that's actually real. That's actually new Virginia Madsen dialogue that she came in to record. So I was like, okay, that was cool to bring her back as her little cameo. So
So before the girls' bathroom scene, you get William bringing up Robadiah, bringing up Sherman, and he brings up like a
mhm.
few other names as well, but they don't touch on that. He says the first one started all the way back in the 1890s.
Yeah, the generations of Candyman. Yeah,
Yeah. And then you got the girls' bathroom scene, which is a pretty brutal scene.
yeah.
Um,
And something else I don't know if you really noticed this on this rewatch, but everyone essentially that Anthony comes into contact with almost in that art gallery is killed off. The art critic, Clive and his girlfriend, the girl that was just kind of like, I don't give a shit, which I think was actually the daughter of the art critic. Her and her friends get it, and I was just like, that's just good writing. You're gonna bring in characters that may or may not have any significance, but you're gonna kill them off as the film goes on. That's just good writing.
another way of making you think that it was maybe Anthony the whole time.
Yeah. And I think that's the joy that Jordan Peele had with this film is like you don't know if it's really him or Tony Todd or Sherman or what version of Candyman it is. So what'd you think about the reveal of him being the baby at the end of the original film when he's with Vanessa Williams?
I knew something like that was coming on. I didn't catch it right offhand the first time I watched it because honestly, the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is a reboot because this is really is this not the first requel of its kind where they completely do away with the whole franchise and just follow? Well, I mean, technically 2008 Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween was the start of that.
Halloween might be the start of it, but to me, I thought this was just a complete reboot.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So when I first
Has no
watched
ties
it,
to the original film.
yeah, when I first watched it, I didn't think it had any ties. And then obviously the first 10 minutes happened, and you're like, okay, that gets thrown out the window. But I enjoyed that they tied them both together. I liked that it wasn't a complete reboot. And it, like you said, it goes fast.
Yeah.
Like the first 10 minutes, you get the plot of the story. You get the bees and the honey in the middle, which like the last 30, the last 30 minutes to an hour, and then the last 30 minutes of the film just it gives you the setup of the abduction of Bree, and I said because she goes looking for him at the laundromat, and William abducts her.
Yeah, I will say on this rewatch, I noticed with the cinematography when Bree's brother is telling the story of Helen, they think they're cleverly kind of zoom in on Anthony as they're telling the story. It's just like, okay, so that, in my opinion, that kind of gave it away of like he's clearly connected to this in some form or fashion. So that's not even a nitpick or anything. I just noticed that on this rewatch. So
What do you think of? Because I don't know, we haven't talked about uh, Yaya recently,
Abdul, yeah,
and
19. Mm-hmm.
yeah, his next movie
Think
is
the last, think
Aquaman.
the
So
yeah.
what do you think? Is that big? That's well, you say that, but the first one grossed a little over $1 billion. You think this is big time for him, or do you think he goes back to some smaller roles after Aquaman 2?
I mean, I don't know what you think of him as an actor, but I think
I
he's
like
very
him.
capable. I think he has a lot of charisma. Really, that Candyman was his he was in the trial of the Chicago 7. He was in Watchmen, the TV show. I remember that now. He was in Us, which I don't remember him in that. But I mean, like, I would say Candyman was his breakout. I don't blame him for taking the Matrix Resurrections on because I would think, as an actor, you'd want to do a big project like that. So, and I thought, even though the movie wasn't great, but I thought he was good in Ambulance, the Michael Bay movie.
Oh, Michael
So,
Bay's the shit.
yeah.
Anybody who thinks Michael Bay shouldn't direct movies should go fucking suck a duck. If you don't, if you,
So,
I'm sorry, but if you can't go to a movie and enjoy 2 hours of explosions, I mean,
what's the point?
there's people that complain on everything nowadays, whether it's a 3 hour Martin Scorsese movie or a Michael Bay blow fest. I don't know.
Or
You know,
Scarface and a whole
you know
bunch
what?
of blow. Yeah.
You watch your mouth.
Hey, that debate's coming, so you better get ready.
You know what didn't suck is I ended up watching. I talked about it for briefly in recent watches. Haunted Mansion wasn't terrible.
Oh, it wasn't.
No,
I've heard
it was
mixed
fun.
things.
It was fun. I don't know if it was definitely better than the Eddie Murphy version.
I think anything is better than the Eddie Murphy. Candyman 3 is probably better than the Eddie Murphy version.
Now hold on. Robert Downey Jr.'s Doolittle was not better than Eddie Murphy's Doolittle.
Fair. That's fair.
Let's get into the final scene. What's up?
Did you think that something else that caught my attention on this viewing was after Bree kills William, Anthony is just like he's dead. Like by that point, he's just already like gone. And when he collapses in Bree's arms, I thought he was already dead. and then the police come in and shoot him, which sets off the events that makes him the Candyman.
That's
But
also what sets off people not liking this movie.
yeah, but I just thought he was already dead, so I'm just like, why are you already shoot him if he's dead? You know, but no, I
No,
get it.
because she was rocking him back and forth. She was saying, "We're gonna get you to the emergency room." You know, they're on their way. Just hold him there. Um, so yeah, that's why a lot of people have issues with this movie.
And then Brianna, what do you think about the scene with Brianna in the back of the squad car and that intimidating her to be like, "Hey, listen, you say it like this, you'll have nothing to worry about."
It makes you root for Candyman.
Yeah, it's true.
It makes it makes all the sense in the world. It makes you feel. And at the end of the day, Jordan Peele told the story. Candyman is the at least Anthony is, and you could even say all three Candymans. They are the innocent.
Yeah,
They did nothing wrong.
yeah, that's true. And then obviously, as a viewer, you want that sense of justice, if in a way, if you want to use that word, for when he starts mowing down all the policemen, and which was a really cool scene, like the backdrop of like the police, not sirens, but
The radio.
no, the lights, the police lights,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
as the bees are like enveloping his face and everything, and it's just, I thought that was shot really well, a cool visual, and then I thought it was cool. Maybe a lot of people had a problem with it, but for it to be the final scene of Tony Todd telling Bree, tell everyone, like his face morphs into Tony Todd's and he says, tell everyone. I thought that was like a perfect ending.
Oh yeah. It was so good. It was so fun. It was an homage to the original. You got to see Tony Todd finally, even if it was maybe a CGI
Recreation, yeah.
de-aging.
Yeah.
But he was still there. He got the credit for it. It made you feel like another one is coming.
Do you think they will make another one? How much did this movie make in the box office?
It made $77 million on just a $25 million budget, which isn't bad, seeing that you're still in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. I don't think this needs a sequel. I think you have the original and this one, kind of like Halloween 1973 or something like that, 1978,
78.
1978, and 2018.
Today's the 45th anniversary.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't think you don't need to do a sequel to this. I think Jordan Peele was really the only one that could do it, to pull this off, especially with the writing of it. So
It's interesting to see what he will do next after seeing Nope. I know a lot of people really, really like Nope. I was kind of on the fence of, I think it's okay. To me, I feel like it's the lesser of the three films he did. Doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
have you
Also,
rewatched it since the theater?
no, I need to. Isn't it like 2.5 hours long, or 2:20, or
I don't,
2:15?
I don't remember it being that long. Let me
It
look.
felt long to me. Maybe that's why.
Oh yeah, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. I would say give it a try, because I was kind of like you. Like I liked it, but I thought the other two were stronger films. But when I did our 2023 review, I was just like, let me rewatch this, and it was like number 6, because I just put my expectations aside, just rewatched it as a film, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Was that really a 2022 movie?
Yep, that was last year.
Overall, Candyman is a fun movie. Like you said, you're in and you're out. Even if you don't know anything about the original movies, I would still say sit down and watch this. Zach, where did you stream this at?
I think I just watched it on the Vudu. Is it streaming anywhere? I think it's on MGM Plus or something like that.
That's a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. Believe it or not. See, that's how you know, like, we're so far behind in culture. It's just like when they have like streaming apps. Is like when people say like, "What is it on MGM?" It's like, I don't even know what that is, to be honest.
Well, I know what MGM is, but I just didn't know they have their own streaming program.
Yep, MGM Plus. Wow. And I thought did you just watch it on Blu-ray? I'm assuming,
Yeah,
or 4K. Was the
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray transfer good? Or
Yeah,
yeah. So
I usually don't have any complaints unless it's like there's some pretty bad transfers. But if it's a new release, I mean, I don't have the latest TV that's up to date, but I still have a 2022 TV, and 1080p high def is still really good.
yeah.
Is this a movie
Favorite
that you would?
scene?
Is this a movie that you would add to your collection?
Yeah, yeah. I would. I saw it somewhere for like,
It's real cheap. I think it's still at Best Buy for like $7.
yeah, it's either Best Buy or Walmart. Walmart had it for like part of their Halloween collection or whatever. So,
Do you have any
favorite
favorite
scene?
scenes?
Yeah. I'd say anything with the shadow puppets. I thought that's what made the movie, in my opinion. And then probably the final confrontation, really past the William stuff, and with Bree in the car, sitting in the back of the patrol car, saying Candyman, and then her kind of seeing the urban legend come to fruition. I thought was really well done. So
If I had to pick a favorite scene, it would be the opening scene where they're talking about the Helen ghost story. Um, the bathroom scene where the girls get murdered, the elevator scene, and the ending. That whole last 10 minutes where he gets dubbed Candyman, he gets candy put in his pocket, he gets his arm cut off, all the way up until you see Tony Todd. I think this is an
mhm.
extraordinary horror movie, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really well made, really well shot. Um, the screenplay is really good. You have Jordan Peele's feel all over the film. Good performances, good kills. I'm gonna give it an 8. I mean, I thoroughly think that this is probably one of the better requels we got right now. Um, and like you said, you don't need to see all the bullshit with the sequels, and just see the original, jump right into this, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna give it an 8. I really, really like it a lot. I like the message behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's basically a don't judge a book by the cover. Um, the kills are great. The score, the city of Chicago, everything is just thrown together just the way it needs to be. So,
Absolutely.
if you guys want to know what you think of Candy, let us know what you think of Candyman 2021. We will do an email bag next week. When we kick off November, Zach, next week is November already. We only got 2 months left.
That's uh, that's crazy. It really is.
And we have a jam-packed month of November. I'm excited, and it kicks off next
Girthy
week.
month.
Next week with an A24 movie. Talk to me, Zach. Is this the first A24 movie we've talked about since Everything Everywhere All at Once?
We,
2 summers ago?
no, no. Well, we talked about Everything Everywhere last year.
Yeah.
There's no way we would have had an A24 movie since then.
We didn't do it. We haven't done an A24 month.
Not this year, but part of me thinks we've done it. I have to go back and look at the schedule, our shows, and see.
But next
But
week
yeah,
we're
this
talking
is
Talk
this
to
will be
Me.
interesting because this is kind of getting the same flack that Candyman got. Um, have you watched it?
I haven't seen it since July.
Okay, so
So I'll go in fresh next week. Talk about it, rewatch it. The week after that, second week in November, we're talking Prey, which is currently out on Hulu. If you want to watch it on Hulu, or you can pick up the physical copy. The week after that, week 3 of November, we're talking Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Week 4, Thanksgiving week of November, we're talking about Barbie, which is the highest grossing movie of the year, I believe.
yep,
And the week after that, Oppenheimer. The final week of November before we get to December, we're talking Oppenheimer, which should be another fun conversation. So 5 jam-packed movies. I'm excited, and it all kicks off next week with Talk to Me. So,
Sounds like a plan. We got a
what are
lot
you
of.
most looking forward to out of these 5 different movies? They're all, and the difference between all 5 of them is incredible to me.
I mean, I'm obviously excited about Oppenheimer because I want to talk about that when it came out in the summer. I think Barbie will be a fun conversation. Just how big that movie got, and just the Barbenheimer situation came out and everything. Um, and I think Prey will be fun because we've been trying to do Predator for quite some time. So
And then next week is Talk to Me. You've seen Talk to Me. I think you saw it before I did.
yeah, I
Um,
did my rewatch already, and it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting conversation.
so technically, this is the last episode of October, but we end spooky season next week with Talk to Me, Wednesday, November the 1st. Zach, before we say goodbye to October, is there anything you want to add on to not only Candyman, but maybe the whole month of October so far?
Yeah, I thought it was a real fun month. Candyman, The Conjuring 2. I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003, but I wasn't on the episode. I'd give it a 6. I was kind of on the same level as Craig, where it's just like, I get what they're doing, hype it up and everything, but essentially that movie's the reason why we have all these remakes, reboots, and requels and everything. So I blame that on that. Um, the birds, love talking Hitchcock. I know it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. So if you guys want to go back and check out any of those episodes in the archives for the fun month of October, go back and check them out. You can listen to them wherever you listen to podcasts. But until then, guys, brand new episode next week, November the 1st. Talk to me, Zach. A24 next week. Have a good week,
Yeah.
guys. Have a safe and happy Halloween.
Bye.